All right, let's take a look at the Baby Lock Pro Line machine, and one of the first things you're going to do is locate your power cord. Looks something like this. You have a foot pedal attached to it, and you have a piece that goes into the motor, and this, you know, goes into the electrical outlet. So to set this up, what you're going to do is take the piece that goes in the motor. It goes right here on the right hand side. Oops, slip that around. Tuck it in nice and tight. We're going to put this part into the outlet so we have power, and your foot pedal goes on the floor. All right, so your machine is equipped with an on-off switch. It's right here, and when you turn it on and off, you should be able to see the light come on, and that's what powers your machine. Let's take a look at the parts of the sewing machine and make sure we know where they are and how they move, how we take them off, and how we put them back on. First one we're going to look at is the presser foot. That's this piece right here. And if you look underneath the arch of the machine, right here, there's a bar. It's called the presser lever, and it raises your presser foot up and down. It's down every time you sew, and it's up when you finish sewing and you want to stop. The next part we're looking at is right here. That's the needle. The needle is the one piece of equipment that breaks pretty often. It's no big deal. You just go get another one and change it. To change your needle, what you're going to do is hold the needle in place with your left hand. With your right hand, you're going to loosen this little screw. Okay, don't take it out, just loosen it and pull the needle down. There we go. Now, when you take a look at the needle, it looks a little different than hand sewing needles because the eye and the point are on the same end, and the top has a really nice flat edge, okay, so that you can clamp it into the machine. When you put it back in the machine, you have to go the correct way. That flat side needs to go facing the back. So it's going to slide right back up where it came from. You're going to tighten the screw as tightly as you can with your fingers, and that replaces your needle. Okay? Next thing we're going to look at is, we're going to look at your take-up lever, and that's this little silver thing that's hiding inside of here. This is a safety cover. Whenever you stop sewing, you want to be able to see this. So you're going to turn your hand wheel until this comes to the top. This bar right here, this is called the reverse knob, and when you hold it down, the machine sews backwards. When you let it go, the machine sews forward. The reason you sew backwards is to make a knot, like we do when we hand sew, but we sew backwards at the beginning and again at the end of a row so that we can make a knot and our stitches don't come out. All right, let's look at the top of the machine. You have 3 different dials here. This one is your tension knob, and you can set it from 9 all the way down to 0. You want it right in the middle, which is 4.5. Now, you don't need to change this one. You set it there and you leave it there. You should be in good shape. The wheel in the middle has 2 jobs. If you look at the little picture on the front, it shows a little straight stitch, and then it gets really wide and makes a zigzag stitch. That's what we call the stitches that go side to side. So this knob tells you how wide your stitches are going to be, and again, you have from 0 all the way to 5. That's your choice, okay? So 5 is a really wide stitch. 0 is no width at all. The other function that this knob does is it has a needle position feature. So it'll move your needle to the left, to the center, or to the right. And it all depends on where this knob is set as to how your needle progresses. So if we look at the needle, there's a little bump on your dial right here. That's the center. That'll tell you that your needle is in the middle, and that's where it always needs to be unless you're doing something special. If I move this, you'll see the needle moves all the way to the left or all the way to the right. That's for specialty stitching. We won't be doing that right now. So what you want to do is you want your needle right in the middle where that little bump is, in between the 2 and the 3. So that's the correct setting for this knob for regular stitching. The third knob up here is your stitch length knob. It tells you how long the stitches will be. Little short stitches are really tight. They're also really hard to take out if you make a mistake. So that's not where we want to be for regular sewing. This one goes from 4 all the way to 0. Where you want to be on this one, 2.5. That's the regular setting for nice, straight, smooth stitches that are easy to take out in case you make a mistake. If you look right here, this is called the spool pin or the spool spindle. It's really delicate. You can't pull on it because if you yank on it too hard, it will break, and then you've got a problem. It comes with a companion piece that's called the spool cap. And the spool cap looks something like this. And so when you put your spool of thread on, the cap is going to go on top to hold your spool of thread in place. All right, so this is the other piece that you need that goes with the machine. This part here is called the bobbin winder, and we'll do a lesson on how to wind a bobbin in a little bit. One thing you need to know about this is it has an on-off switch. If it's to the left, it's off. That's where it needs to be most of the time. When you push it to the right, everything else on the machine stops. It does not sew. So you want to make sure this is turned off unless you're sewing, unless you're winding a bobbin. Okay, you have two wheels on the right hand side. The one on the bottom is called the stitch selector. And so if you move this, you'll see numbers changing in the little box on the front. Okay, so there's number 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And what it does is it gives you all of these different types of stitches. The ones that you are going to use most often are number 2 and number 3. Don't ever mess with number 1. You're just going to get really frustrated and think that the sewing machine doesn't work because it's trying to make a buttonhole, and that's a special function. So when you change your knob, make sure you're looking at your pattern. Number 2 is for straight stitches, and number 3, there we go. Number 3 is regular zigzag. Those are the two you're going to use most often. Okay, so this is the last piece that we're going to look at is the hand wheel. That's this knob right here. Now, when I turn the hand wheel, you're going to notice that several pieces move on the sewing machine. You always turn it towards your body, and you're going to see that the take-up lever is moving, the needle is moving, and there's some little teeth underneath the presser foot called the feed dog teeth. Those are also moving. That's the stuff that works together to make the stitches. Whenever you finish sewing, use this knob to make sure your needle is high, your take-up lever is way up here, and then you're in the correct position to stop sewing. So this is a review of your parts. Make sure you have them all set correctly when you sit down. Don't trust that someone else has done it right. Make sure you do it right, and then you'll be ready to sew.